When you finally decide to stop letting life happen to you, everything shifts. Most people don't even realize they've given their power away. They let the day decide their mood. They let people decide their energy. They let circumstances decide their effort. They wake up reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of directing, and then they wonder why they feel stuck, frustrated, or behind. You can't live like that and expect to win. You can't drift through life and expect to arrive somewhere meaningful. At some point, you have to grab the wheel and say, I'm done letting life push me around. I'm driving now. There's a different kind of energy that comes when you choose to run your life. It's not about being perfect. It's about being responsible. It's about waking up and saying, what happens today is on me, not on your past, not on your excuses, not on what someone did or didn't do for you. When you decide you're in control, you start moving differently. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop hoping for an easy path. You stop expecting someone to come rescue you. You step up, you stand tall, and you move with intent. Because once you're the driver, you realize every decision you make is either pulling you closer to the life you want or pushing you farther from it. People want success, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with success. They want freedom, but they don't want the weight of choice. They want the results, but not the accountability. You can't have it both ways. You can't be the boss of your life only when it's convenient. You can't take control only when it feels good. Running your life means showing up even when you're tired. It means choosing discipline when your feelings tell you to quit. It means not letting fear, distraction, or laziness take the wheel. Because the moment you hand the wheel over to anything other than your purpose, your vision, your commitment, you start drifting again. And drifting is dangerous. Drifting looks harmless because it feels easy, it feels comfortable, it feels safe. But drifting takes you where you don't want to go. Drifting steals your potential quietly. It won't ruin your life overnight. It'll do it slowly, softly, subtly. One skipped day, one ignored opportunity, one excuse that feels too good to challenge, and before you know it, you wake up and realize life has been driving you instead of you driving your life. You can't afford that, not with the talent you have, not with the dreams you carry, not with the greatness inside you waiting to be activated. The moment you take the wheel, the moment you say, this is my life and I'm running it, you break the cycle. You shift from wishing to working, from hoping to executing, from reacting to creating, and that's the moment everything begins to change. Because the truth is simple, your life won't move until you do. When you understand that discipline is the anchor of every dream you're chasing, everything becomes clearer. Most people think motivation is what carries you, but motivation is temporary, discipline is the engine. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline doesn't check whether you're in the mood. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. Discipline shows up because the mission matters more than the moment. And the difference between people who talk about success and the ones who actually achieve it is simple. The achievers act on discipline, not emotion. They don't wait for the perfect day. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't wait for energy. They move because the goal demands movement. Think about how much power you gain when discipline becomes your default setting. Suddenly you're not at the mercy of your feelings anymore. You don't get derailed by a bad morning, a bad conversation, or a bad week. You don't crumble because things didn't go your way. You don't spiral into self-pity or procrastination. You stay locked in because you've trained yourself to be consistent even when everything around you feels inconsistent. That's how champions are built. That's how greatness is carved. Not by what you do once in a while, but by what you do asterisk every day asterisk, especially on the days when you don't feel like doing it. People always say they want success, But they underestimate the weight of discipline. It's heavy, it's uncomfortable. It's not glamorous. Nobody celebrates the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices, the lonely hours of grinding when nobody is watching. But that's where your edge is created. That's where your separation begins. Discipline is what turns potential into power and dreams into reality. Without it, you're just someone with good intentions. With it, you become unstoppable. And the deeper you go, the more you realize discipline isn't just about routines. It's about identity. It's about deciding who you are and refusing to negotiate with yourself. When you say you'll do something, you do it. When you commit to a path, you stay on it. When you set a standard, you protect it. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop letting your comfort zone run your life. You stop quitting because it feels harder than you expected. You rise because discipline has become the proof that you're serious. The truth is, discipline gives you freedom. Not the freedom to avoid effort, but the freedom to live a life you're proud of, a life you built step by step, choice by choice, day by disciplined day. And if you want to run your life instead of being run by it, discipline is the price, and it's worth every single ounce. When you stop living by excuses and start owning every decision you make, everything in your life begins to shift. Most people don't even realize how much power they give away every time they blame circumstances, blame people, blame timing, or blame the world for where they are. Excuses feel comfortable, they feel logical, they feel justified, but they steal your control. And the moment you let excuses run your life, you've already surrendered the pen that writes your story. You're no longer leading your life, you're reacting to it. You're no longer choosing your direction, you're drifting. And drifting never leads to destiny, but something incredible happens when you decide to take full accountability. Suddenly, your life stops being a series of random events and becomes a series of intentional decisions. You stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? You stop saying, it's not my fault, and start asking, what can I do differently? You stop pointing outward and start looking inward. And that one shift from excuses to responsibility unlocks levels of growth and strength you didn't even know you had. Owning your decisions doesn't mean everything goes perfectly. It means you always stay in the driver's seat. You learn from your mistakes faster. You adjust instead of collapse. You adapt instead of retreat. You start to understand that every outcome in your life is connected to a choice you made, or a choice you avoided making. And when you finally embrace that, you stop feeling powerless. You stop feeling stuck. You stop waiting for someone else to save you. Because you realize the only person capable of changing your life is you. And accountability doesn't make you weaker. It makes you unstoppable. When you stop giving energy to excuses, you start giving energy to solutions. When you stop focusing on what you can't control, you start maximizing what you can control. You shift from victim mode to creator mode, from complaining to strategizing, from wishing to working. And that's when your transformation begins, because ownership forces growth. Ownership forces action. Ownership forces evolution. The truth is, people who run their lives with intention are not the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who refuse to let excuses define them. They look at every setback and say, this is on me, and because it's on me, I can fix it. They look at every challenge and say, if I caused some of this, I can change all of it. And that mindset separates ordinary from exceptional. So the moment you stop leaning on excuses and start standing on responsibility, you stop being a passenger and start being the architect of everything you want your life to become. When you look in the mirror at the end of the day, there's only one person who truly knows whether you gave everything you had, and that's you. No speech, no motivation, no outside voice can replace the truth you carry inside. You know if you pushed or if you coasted. You know if you stayed focused or if you drifted. You know if you were intentional or if you went through the motions. And that self-honesty is what shapes your future more than anything else. Because you can fool people, you can fool systems, you can fool the world for a while, but you can never fool yourself. The mirror doesn't lie to you, it reflects the decisions you made. It reflects the effort you chose to give. It reflects whether you lived your day based on discipline or based on impulses. And too many people avoid that moment of truth. They avoid looking at their own reflection because deep down they know they didn't show up the way they promised themselves. And the dangerous part is, once you start avoiding that truth, it becomes easier and easier to live under your own expectations. You begin accepting less from yourself, giving less of yourself, and eventually becoming less than you were meant to be. But when you choose to face yourself honestly, everything changes. You begin to raise your standards not because someone told you to, but because you demand it from yourself. You begin to hold yourself accountable. You begin to expect consistency, dedication, and resilience from the person staring back at you. You stop chasing validation from others because you realize that the highest validation comes from knowing you showed up with integrity. You start to understand that success is not built on what you do occasionally. It's built on what you do daily. The mirror becomes your scoreboard, your truth teller, your accountability partner. It becomes a reminder that greatness isn't about perfection, it's about effort. It's about being able to say, I showed up, I pushed, I improved, I didn't quit on myself today. No one else needs to know how hard you worked. No one else needs to clap for you, because the quiet pride you feel when you know you gave your best is worth more than any applause. So every night before you close your eyes, confront that reflection. Ask yourself if you earned your own respect today. Ask yourself if your actions matched your goals. Ask yourself if you moved one step closer to the person you say you want to become. Because when you win that battle in the mirror, when you can look at yourself and feel proud, you've already won the day.